The Bureau of Immigration of the Philippines is getting ready to open the country to international tourists. And the government said the country will open in due time. What does all this mean? When will the country really open up? What I want to discuss with you in this video is 3 possible scenarios as to when you can expect the country to really open up. If you've been reading or watching the news lately, you have come across a good amount of positive information in terms of when the Philippines is going to open up to you guys. This is something positive, especially since you've been waiting for months and months and months, and some have been waiting for more than 18 months to get back into the country. It's been insanity. It's been everything but pleasant. So I totally get it. You want to get back. You don't want to wait anymore. And what's really, really positive is that finally, certain departments of the government are talking about opening up. Okay, we've never actually reached this point because now we're hearing all this news that things are in progress. Airport staff is not allowed to take off days from December 1st through mid-January. I mean, if the government wasn't going to open the country, or if there wasn't a decent chance for the government to open the country, why would they tell their employees to not take days off? It doesn't make sense. So I think what this tells us is that there is in fact a pretty good chance that a surprise reopening could happen early December, but we're going to talk about this, okay, in just a moment. But what I wanted to point out before we talk about the 3 possible scenarios is that the country has really done a good job. As of right now, 38% of Filipinos are fully vaccinated. And I think that's pretty impressive considering the large population of the Philippines. I mean, we're talking 109 million Filipinos, right? That's how many people live in the Philippines. That's how many Filipinos there are. And what's really, really good about it is that 38% of these people are already fully vaccinated. And if we compare this to another country like Indonesia, I think Indonesia has a population of roughly 270 million, and 37% of Indonesians are vaccinated at this point. While the Philippines doesn't really have a very small population like Malaysia, there's not a lot of Malaysians. I think it's 25 million or so, and a country like Singapore, with a population of 5 million, I mean, those countries obviously didn't take so much time to vaccinate their own people because there aren't that many people, but if you take a look at the larger countries and larger by population, Indonesia and the Philippines are lagging behind because they have such a big population and there isn't enough vaccine supply coming in from the United States, from China, the World Health Organization, you name it. I do believe that the Philippines really wants to open up the country because the airlines are in trouble. The airlines sought for bankruptcy protection in the United States, So the airlines really need to make things happen, and that sooner than later. It's really important that they do. And from a gross domestic product perspective, tourism makes 12.7% of the Philippines' gross domestic product. So the government can't really afford to keep borders shut forever because it's not just the airline industry, it's not just hotels, resorts, and everything that's tied to it. Most businesses are tied to tourism one way or another. So the country does not want to delay it for no reason, So I think the delay is justified at this point. If the country is in a position to open up, they would already have opened up to foreign travelers, but they haven't. However, what I see happening, okay, there's probably, I would say, a 20% chance, probably about 20% chance that they're going to open up the country next month, December, okay? And the reason why I'm saying this, okay, there's a couple of reasons behind this statement. Firstly, we are now at 38%, okay? That's how many Filipinos are vaccinated. And given the current vaccination rate, if the Philippines continues at the same speed, the Philippines will vaccinate another 10% of its population every single month, okay? So with that being said, at a very minimum, the Philippines, I believe, wants 50 to 60% of people vaccinated, okay? So with the 10% a month, the Philippines could get there early December or mid-December 2021. And if the country reaches the 50%, then a country could open up, right? But I think the 50 to 60% is the lowest entry, is the lowest bar, okay? If they manage to get there, they could open up the country. So it has to do with the vaccination rate, okay? The numbers don't look too bad right now. I mean, country has done a good job moving in the right direction. However, an even bigger reason to open up is to boost the economy. And there's no better time to boost the economy than winter. Okay, and we're now in the winter season, you know, November, December, January, February, you know, that's when most people, you know, most Europeans, most North Americans would travel to the Philippines. But still, most people from the West want to get out of the cold weather and they want to go to the Philippines, and now is the time to do it. There is a chance the Philippines will open up, taking the risk despite not having reached herd immunity yet, meaning 70 to 80%. They're definitely a few months away from reaching the target. However, given these numbers, you know, that, yeah, we're at 38%, could get to 50% next month, plus, you know, the time of the year being a pretty big reason, especially if you take a look at all other Southeast Asian countries that they have opened up. You know, the Philippines is really lagging behind. Bali, Indonesia has opened up. Malaysia is opening up Langkawi this month. Thailand is fully open to fully vaccinated tourists. Vietnam is opening up Phu Quoc and possibly other top tourist destinations by the end of the year. And Cambodia, the same too. Cambodia is opening up 2 designated areas this year as well. So the Philippines is really the only Southeast Asian country. I mean, we're not talking about Laos and Myanmar because those countries don't get a lot of tourism anyway. We're talking about the major players, right, in the Southeast Asia industry game. The Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, those countries get the majority of the share. Those are just the countries people visit the most. And the Philippines is lagging behind, just as Indonesia is lagging behind too, because it's a pretty big population that the Philippines has, right? So this is the first scenario, that the country is going to open up this winter, and simply because it needs the dollars, it needs the revenue, you know, it needs businesses to thrive again. And this is a possibility. I think it's about a 20% shot, 20% possibility. Another possibility is that the country is going to open up when at least 70% of people are vaccinated. And this sounds like such a big distance, but it really isn't, because 38%, 70%, given the current speed, this would happen when? December, another 10%, January, February, 30%. So this would happen at the end of February, March, at the earliest, okay? If they can keep going at the same speed, obviously. You know, if there's going to be a shortage of vaccines, then it could take longer, right? But I would say best case scenario, the country would open up when 70% of the population has been vaccinated, which would indicate late February, beginning March 2022. And this again is not 100%, but I would give this probably the highest probability out of all the options available, simply because it is the most logical way. It is the most logical scenario, okay? So we're probably talking 50 to 60% here chance of the Philippines opening up once the target has been reached. Scenario 3, okay? This is a little bit of a theory. Don't be upset when I mention it. However, a lot of people have been talking about it in the comments, and it could be some truth to it. Maybe, maybe not. It's really difficult to tell, because a lot of people think, well, there's no reason for them to do that because, you know, the benefits don't outweigh the disadvantages of waiting this long. I mean, if this is really the only goal, right? What I'm talking about here is the Philippines could open up prior to the election in 2022. Duterte's daughter is running for president, and people think there is a chance that he's going to open up the country right before the election. It is a little bit of a conspiracy theory, because why wouldn't a country open up before if 70 or 80% of people have been vaccinated? Why would they wait longer? You know, because they are hurting the economy by not opening up, and it wouldn't really indicate a lot of logic either. However, from a political perspective, it would somewhat make sense, because yeah, you did such a great job. Now you're opening up the country, you know, to make sure people can earn a living again. I understand that, but again, I would give this maybe a 20% chance, okay? So scenario 1, 20%. Scenario 2, I would say 60%. And scenario 3, another 20%. These are the possible scenarios. And then there's probably some people saying right now, well, the country may not open up for another 2 years because they're paranoid. You know, you can only stay closed for so long. These are the 3 possible scenarios that I see. I'm sure there are more. And yeah, there's other scenarios, you know, when you could say, well, maybe the country wouldn't open up at all. But why wouldn't it open up at all? You know, it's like they're delaying it, but for what? For what reason? You know, there has to be a reason behind it. You know, if everyone's opening up in Southeast Asia and the Philippines is not, then it doesn't really make sense, because the Philippines does not want to hurt its own economy. They don't want to do that. You know, in fact, they want to funnel travelers from the other Southeast Asian countries to the Philippines. That's what they want to do. All right, enough said. When do you think the Philippines will open its borders to international tourists? And which of the discussed scenarios do you think is the most likely? Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new content on travel updates, visas, and digital nomad locations several times a week right now. Before I let you go, I got 2 recommendations for you. Recommendation 1, I shot a video on the best places where you can live on as little as $1,000 a month. If you want to watch this video, click on the link right here. Recommendation 2, I shot another video on countries with easy residence permits. These are great places where you can obtain a residency for not too much money. So not a heavy investment needed. If you want to find out what these places are, click on the link right here. Thank you for watching.